Now, not all of us are going to start space exploration companies and electric vehicle companies. The scale changes, but what can people do, or what motivations do people need to harness to try to make change, as opposed to just reading about change?
If you study engineering and you figure out how to design new things, then it's relatively easy to start a company. You just need to get a few like-minded people with you, and then focus on creating a prototype, a compelling prototype as soon as possible. And then, there's a strong venture capital industry in this country that will give you funding to take things to the next level, and that's all there is to it. And you might, if try it a few times, you may or may not succeed. But I think sometimes people fear starting a company too much. Well, I think it's very difficult to start companies and quite painful. I think that's important to bear in mind. I don't know if that's probably not encouraging, but I mean, there's a friend of mine who's got a good phrase for doing a startup. It's like eating glass and staring into the abyss. So if you go into it expecting it's going to be just fun, you will be disappointed. It's not. It's quite painful. It's much easier to get a job somewhere. Much easier, much less stressful. You'll have more time for other things.
But would you be happier?
It depends on who you are. Would I be happier?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be. I'd be unhappier. It's really like if you're sort of wired to do it, then you should do it. But not otherwise. It's not going to optimize your leisure time or anything like that. It's going to be extremely difficult and stressful. So you must feel compelled to do it. Let me put it this way: if you need inspiring words, don't do it.
Actually, that is right. That's good, inspiring words.
There are a lot of negative things in the world. There's a lot of terrible things that are happening all over the world, all the time. There are lots of problems that need to get solved. There's lots of things that are miserable and kind of get you down. But life cannot just be about solving one miserable problem after another. That can't be the only thing. There need to be things that inspire you, that make you glad to wake up in the morning and be part of humanity. I think certainly being focused on something that you're confident will have high value to someone else, and just being really rigorous in making that assessment, because people tend to, a natural human tendency is wishful thinking. So a challenge for entrepreneurs is to say, well, what's the difference between really believing in your ideals and sticking to them versus pursuing some unrealistic dream that doesn't actually have merit? And that is a really difficult thing to tell. Can you tell the difference between those two things?
Right.
So you need to be sort of very rigorous in your self-analysis. I think certainly extremely tenacious, and then just work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in 80 to 100-hour weeks every week. And then all those things improve the odds of success.
Okay.
I mean, if other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that in 1 year you will achieve what they achieve. You will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve.
Okay, sure. So I think in terms of advice, I think it's very important to seek out, to actively seek out and listen very carefully to negative feedback. And this is something that people tend to avoid because it's painful. Yeah. But I think this is a very common mistake, is to not actively seek out and listen to negative feedback.
Where do you do that? You go into forums, you go into Twitter, like what are your areas where you go to look for feedback on, let's say, Tesla?
Well, it's like everyone I talk to is, in fact, when friends get a product, I say, look, don't tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like.
Right.
And because otherwise your friend is not going to tell you what he doesn't like.
Right.
It's going to say, oh, I love this and that, and then leave out the this is the stuff I don't like list, because he wants to be your friend, doesn't want to offend you. So so you really need to sort of coax negative feedback, and you know that if somebody is your friend, or at least not your enemy, and they're giving you negative feedback, then they may be wrong, but it's coming from a good place. And sometimes even your enemies give you good negative feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's important. Phil's just view like positive feedback, like water off a duck's back. That's like, really underweight that and overweight negative feedback.
Right.
Also, people tend to overweight risk on a personal level. It's one thing if you've got, a mortgage to pay and kids to support, and that if you were to deviate from your job, that, well, how are you going to feed your family and pay the rent? And okay, that's understandable. But let's say you're young and you're just coming out of college or coming out of high school, or whatever. What do you risk? You're not going to starve. I mean, it's really certainly not in any kind of modern economy. It's so easy to earn enough money just to live somewhere and eat food. I don't know what are they afraid of? They're mostly afraid of failure, I think, But people should be less risk averse when there's not much at risk.
There are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight and the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough. I wish they would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here, and I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
Did you expect them to cheer you on?
So they're hoping they would.
What are you trying to prove to them?
What I'm trying to do is to make a significant difference in spaceflight and help make spaceflight accessible to almost anyone.
What was your biggest failure, and how did it change you? I'll have to really think hard about that. Failure. there's your answer. Well, there's a ton of failures along the way, that's for sure. As I said, for SpaceX, the first 3 launches failed. And we were just barely able to scrape together enough parts and money to do the 4th launch. If that 4th launch had failed, we would have been dead. So multiple failures along the way.
Well, I mean, Tesla really faced a severe threat of death due to the Model 3 production ramp. Essentially, the company was bleeding money like crazy, and just if we didn't solve these problems in a very short period of time, we would die. And it was extremely difficult to solve them.
How close to death did you come?
Within single-digit weeks.
22 hours a day? Like how many hours?
Absolutely, yeah. So 7 days a week, sleeping in the factory. I worked in the paint shop, general assembly, body shop.
Do you ever worry about yourself imploding? Like it's just too much?
Absolutely. No one should put this many hours into work. This is not good. People should not work this hard. They should not do this. This is very painful.
Painful in what sense?
It hurts my brain and my heart. I'm available 24/7 to help solve issues. Call me 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I don't care.
When you had that 3rd failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up.
Yes, I think it's possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary.